In a world where there's so many options of smartphones, it can be really hard to know which one is best for you. There's loads of factors that might be important to you to help you choose, like how big the battery is and the battery life, or maybe how many cameras it has, or even just how much it costs. And this is the Poco M8 Pro. It's a great example of a mid-range smartphone. It's currently being sold on Amazon right now for £279. Now, I think that the mid-range smartphone is the most overlooked market right now, and it's surprising because this phone shares some similar specs to flagships from 2025, but even 2026. Now, starting with what I think is one of the best features of this phone, the screen. This is a 6.83 Crystal Res AMOLED display. It has a resolution of 1.5K and a pixel density of 447 pixels per inch. It's got a refresh rate that goes up to 120Hz, which means it's super smooth no matter what application you're using. It has a massive touch sample rate, so it'll be very precise wherever you tap on the screen. It has a peak brightness of 3200 nits, which means it's super bright even when you're out in sunny conditions. It's got HDR10+, Adobe Vision, so that means whatever you're watching will be vibrant, colourful and clear. The front even comes with Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which is one of the newest from Gorilla Glass. It also has PWM dimming of 3840, which means it can get really dark and not look very stuttery or shaky, which is really nice for some of those who use their phone at night. Now, what I will mention, for 2026 it has rather thick borders, but this is a mid-range phone and this is the compromise with the screen. It is absolutely stunning, but it does come with thicker borders than you expect from other phones. Now let's talk about cameras. So there's two rear-facing cameras, a 50 megapixel main shooter, which I'm using right now, which can record up to 4K 30 frames per second. There's also a second camera on the back, which is an 8 megapixel ultra wide. And there's a front facing camera, which is 32 megapixels. And that sounds really impressive, but the sensor is only half the size of the sensor I'm using right now, the main shooter. Now here's an example of the front facing camera, and the limitations to this one is that it can only record up to 1080p. It can do 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second, but the limitation is it can't do 4K. Now we have to talk about this phone's superpower, the battery. This comes with a 6500 mAh battery, which is one of the biggest batteries on the market. And it can be charged at 100 watts, which means you can fully charge this on average under an hour. It even has reverse wired charging of 22.5 watts, which means you can charge other devices like an iPhone really quickly. Now, as this is 2026, there is a whole load of AI features, and they have teamed up with Google to include some of Google's AI features as well. So of course it comes with Google Gemini and it comes with Google's Circle to Search. But it also has an AI eraser, an AI removal reflection tool, an AI sky changing tool, an AI bokeh tool, and also an AI beauty tool. To unlock the phone, you have Face ID, you also have your fingerprint, or you can just use a passcode. Now, I've been using the fingerprint and it's worked flawlessly every single time, so no issues there. The issue I have is with the location of where you have to put your finger. It is super low down, and because it's such a large phone, it can be awkward to unlock your phone with one hand, so you have to always do a little bit of a juggle to make sure you can get your thumb in that placement because it is so low down. Now, the processor being used is the Snapdragon 7S Gen 4, and if we have a ladder of processors, this is definitely the mid-range processor for a mid-range phone, and that's to save on cost. But in 2026, a mid-range processor is still incredibly good. The only areas you might notice that is a mid-range processor over a flagship is if you're gaming or you're doing any heavy tasks in terms of processing, in terms of editing. That's when you're going to notice it. But in general day-to-day tasks of just scrolling or watching videos or listening to music or just on the internet, you're not going to notice one bit. It is super fast, super snappy, it loads everything the speed that you want it to. Maybe not as quick as a flagship, but it's very minimal and not very noticeable. It is still really good. But obviously, if you're looking to game on this phone and you want the top specs, this processor might be able to handle low to mid-range specs, but not the highest specs on the biggest games. Now, another area I thought was actually really good and even competes with flagships is the speakers. So I'm going to play a little bit of music for you right now, and this is midway, so this is mid-volume, just so you can hear how good it is. I'm now going to turn it up to max. Now, it's hard to appreciate the speakers when it's not in person because obviously my mic will process the sound, my computer might process it even more, and then YouTube will also process it, and then whatever device you're listening from will also affect how you hear it. But I can assure you the sound quality is really good. It's up there with some of the flagship smartphones. It gets really, really loud, one of the loudest phones I've ever used, and all round been very impressed with the speakers and the sound quality. So all round, in terms of battery, that's up there with flagships. Speakers, that's up there with flagships. Now, the processor obviously isn't up there with flagships, but from your day-to-day running, you won't necessarily notice too much difference. And also the screen is up there with flagships, being incredible quality. It has all the things you want with HDR10+, Adobe Vision, the bitrate, all the colors you can imagine, super bright, super clear, super vibrant, and just a joy to watch. And from the videos of the cameras you watched earlier, you can tell that the cameras, they're not too bad. Now, they're not amazing. I will show some photos here and there while I'm talking, just to show you that you can take some pretty good photos with these cameras. But it is limiting because it only has 2 cameras on the back and 1 camera on the front. And one of the cameras on the back is an ultra-wide 8 megapixels, so it's not going to take the best photos. And so with that caveat, that's where you're going to see this mid-range come more into effect. So it can have some flagship qualities, but it also is cutting out a bunch that flagships would have, with multiple different cameras that can handle a lot more scenarios. This can handle pretty good photos in well-lit environments. When you start to get into dark environments or trickier sort of environments, that's where this is going to not necessarily hold up against some of those flagships. And also you'll tell when I'm doing the videos, the sensor that picks up on focus is juttering around. It's always trying to find the subject and it's struggling a little bit, where once again on most flagship high quality phones, it's not necessarily that noticeable. It's a lot more fluid and picks up the subject a lot easier. So all round, I want to say the cameras, they're not bad, but they're also not great. And my last bugbear, which is actually a pretty big bugbear with Poco phones or Xiaomi phones in general, the bloatware. It has a ton of bloatware, and I really mean a ton. So many apps pre-downloaded, a bunch of apps you can't get rid of easily. If you guys are interested in a quick tutorial on how to get rid of all the bloatware on Xiaomi phones, Poco phones, let me know and I'll do a short that shows you a way to get rid of all of it quick and easy. That's what I'm going to do straight after this video, get rid of all the bloatware, make sure this phone is just clean and tidy, because it really bugs me where manufacturers force you to have a bunch of apps you don't want. Now, I always try to put myself in the scenario, if I lost all my phones apart from this one, would I still go out and buy a new phone? The answer is yes, I would, and it's only because of the cameras really. In terms of watching stuff, which I do a lot on my phone, this is fantastic. I feel like I'll get held up on the camera side, because obviously I take a lot of pictures for what I do on YouTube and lots of videos for what I do on YouTube, and this just isn't quite there in terms of quality and just the dynamic range that I sort of need to capture some shots. So that's the only thing letting it down. The plus side of the battery, the screen, the speakers, they are really good. So if you're someone who doesn't take many photos at all, or if you take the odd photo every now and again and just want it to be, you know, viewable, okay looking, this will do you fantastic. And I have to remind you, £279. That is so cheap for a phone that can do all that this phone can do. I'd love to know what you guys think of this down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you're not following the journey already, and I'll see you guys next time.